This video is brought to you by Nate Productions. Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial. During this tutorial, we'll be discussing how Unity detects collision and how we can detect collision in our scripts. So in order for game objects to occur collision between two objects, we need two things. So essentially we need a collider on the one object. So we have our sphere here, which is our player. You can see we have a sphere collider attached to it. You can change the shape of it, so something like that. I'll just undo this and keep it as it is. And the other game object that needs to have another collider. So two colliders in order to occur collision between these two. And in order to detect collision in our script, let's go to our script here that we worked during the last tutorial. If you haven't, essentially is just some movement and some jumping, and that is all. And now we're extending this to use essentially and check if the game object is on the ground. So in the previous lecture, we didn't have this on ground thing, this boolean variable in our if statement. And now all I did was I create a boolean, I set it to true, and I'm checking if the on ground is true as well when the space is pressed. So the player cannot jump unless it's on the ground. And the order and how we're changing this essentially is through the onCollision functions, which are built-in functions in Unity. And there are three types of onCollision functions. There are the onCollision enter, the onCollision stay, and the onCollision exit. And essentially, the enter function is whenever the collision occurs. So the moment the two game objects collide with each other, this is what it's called. And it's the first function that is called when the collision occurs. The on-collision state is when the two colliders are in collision for more than just one frame. So this is called the first frame, and afterwards, if the two colliders remain in collision, this is going to be called every frame afterwards until they stop being in collision. And when they do stop and exit collision, the exit on collision function is called, and essentially is called again one time, and that is it. So all I have here are the three functions, and each one prints and their name essentially. So enter, stay, and exit. And on the enter and exit functions, I'm changing the on ground to true on the enter. So when we are entering collision, in our case, is when we're entering collision with the floor, and we're setting this to true, so it will allow our player to jump. And likewise, when it exits, it turns it to false as we're exiting the collision. Thus, we're not in the ground anymore. So let's just go back to our unit side and demonstrate this. So I'm running this, and you can see I'm moving left and right. I'm jumping, and when I'm trying to jump while I'm midair, I cannot. So it's important that we have this boolean function, so it prevents uh, multiple jumps midair. And I'll just comment this out so you can see the difference essentially. So going back to our Unity side, now that there is no on-ground check, I can jump over and over again without being on the ground. You might want that in your game, but in most cases you will want your player to be touching the ground to jump. And of course, this is not the optimal way, but it's a very simple way to get around things. And in our scenario here, it works. So yeah, and going to the console here, you can see that there are a lot of stays, so it prints stay over and over again. And let's just restart this. So I will jump. You can see that the exit has been called. And let me just find the enter. So I'll just search enter. You can see that there are only two occurrences of the enter. When I re-enter collision, it's called again. And likewise with the exit, if I exit collision, you can see that it's again being called. And the stay function keeps being called over and over again every frame. So yeah, this is how you can detect collision in Unity. And let's just undo this. And essentially this is an extension to our previous lecture where we implemented a jump. So we are taking into account whether the player is on the ground. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you during the next time. Goodbye. Want to become a professional game developer? I designed the ultimate game development course that will teach you everything you need to make your own top quality games with over 20 hours of content and 100 lectures at your disposal. Make sure to check the link in the description for more information.